Would I be the a-hole for reporting my brother-in-law to CBS for what he did? My male 27 sister passed away in 2018. She left behind my 10-year-old nephew, and me and my nephew used to be very close. But because of the tension between me and my brother-in-law, his dad, we don't get along for several reasons. But I'm not going to get into that right now. My brother-in-law used to be a member of a club in his hometown. He has lots of tattoos. His whole left arm is covered in tattoos, as well as his neck and fingers. Last week, while he was visiting my parents' house, I was there and I spent some time with my nephew. My nephew said the upper part of his shoulder has been itching. I checked and saw a spider-shaped tattoo with few letters around it. I was shocked because it looked like a permanent tattoo. There was redness in his skin, and he told me his dad got him a tattoo a few days ago. I went to speak to his dad. He didn't even try to explain and just responded with, "So what?" when I asked if he really got his son a tattoo. I got into an argument with him telling him that what he did was not acceptable, especially since my nephew said he hated it. I asked who was okay with giving a minor a tattoo. My brother-in-law said that the tattoo artist is a close friend of his, and he agreed to give my nephew a tattoo. I told him this was wrong, and I will be getting CPS involved. He then yelled at me, telling to F off, and that I can't do jack since he's the father and has the authority. My parents told me to back off after he said he won't bring my nephew to visit again if I continue. My dad told me to mind my own business and stop being a jerk to a widower. I got overwhelmed after everyone demanded I apologize for my behavior, and I have not seen any of my family ever since. I've been thinking about this confrontation and my nephew's well-being. I'm worried and seriously considering calling CPS about what brother-in-law did. Now for the top comments. Not a hole. There's a reason minors aren't allowed tattoos, especially when they've yet to finish growing. I would absolutely call CPS. The pain involved in tattooing, especially against a child's will, is nothing short of abuse. The man is not a fit parent, and being a widow, especially for 3 years, is no excuse for this. Not a hole. Make the call. I am a mandated reporter. If I saw a tattoo on a 10-year-old kid at my school, I would be required to make the call. Every state has a confidentiality policy, meaning they can out you. The family won't get that information and may think a teacher did it. This kid is doubtless going to show his classmates and word spreads. You can't deny it, because they're a-holes. This kid has a tattoo he hates, and it may be infected. Make the call and let the authorities handle it. What happens is up to them in the courts, not you. But someone needs to make that call, and you sound like the only sensible adult in the equation. Good on you for caring for that kid. This kid has a tattoo he hates, and it may be infected. This is my main concern for the moment. No sane tattoo artist would do this to a child. So this means that the one who actually did it to the poor boy is probably someone who isn't strict with the rules either. And it is bothering the child. Infection is a real danger, and there are plenty of other risks as well. So the poor child definitely needs to be seen by a doctor. Report, report, report. It is in the best interest of the child. Not a hole. Please call CPS. Might wreck your relationship with brother-in-law, but who cares? He sounds like an A. Giving him a tattoo? That's insane. Not a hole. This is child abuse. Honestly, the brother-in-law sounds like an absolute psycho. This might ruin your relationship with him, but honestly, it is in your nephew's best interest. And brother-in-law doesn't sound like the kind of person you'd want in your life anyway. Is it possible your parents were defending him out of fear? They may be scared of losing their grandson, and also scared of brother-in-law himself. I try not to worry too much about their reaction and do what you feel is right. Deep down, they probably know that what he did was wrong and are too scared to admit it in front of him. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my parents insensitive after their reaction toward my late brother's wife's pregnancy test? My older brother passed away almost 2 months ago, and the feelings are still very fresh. My sister-in-law, his wife, is staying at my parents' house right now because she still can't set foot in their apartment. I, 29 male, live a few houses down from my parents, so I'm over all the time right now being there with them, so we all have that support. 2 weeks ago, my sister-in-law was getting sick, throwing up and stuff, but grief makes it hard to eat sometimes. I know, because I've dropped 5 pounds and can't eat much either. But since this only recently started happening to her, my mom became ecstatic out of nowhere and said maybe she's pregnant. This really freaked my sister-in-law out, and she honestly looked terrified. My parents went on talking about how beautiful it would be to have a baby right now, and it's my brother's parting gift. This did not make her happy at all. She bought a pregnancy test that same day, and it was negative. Sister-in-law was relieved, but my parents were not. My mom told her to wait another week, because sometimes it takes a while for the hormones to change or something like that. Again came back negative. My mom is still insisting she's pregnant, and sister-in-law has an appointment tomorrow to confirm, but she's pretty certain she's not. At dinner yesterday, all they would talk about is the baby, and sister-in-law admitted she doesn't want a child right now. This really angered my mom, and she said my sister-in-law was being very cruel for not wanting her child. It started upsetting sister-in-law and looked like she was gonna cry, so I told them to stop it already. She left at the table, and I called them out for being insensitive. I said they don't get she just lost her husband. Do you really think she wants to be a single mom right now on top of what she's going through? And why would they want this pregnancy when that'll mean their grandkid will grow up without their father? I was pretty red in the face telling them this because it really got to me. All week, I've told them to leave her alone about this because it's obviously been too much for sister-in-law and they just wouldn't stop. Even when she tells them she doesn't want to talk about it. This made my mom emotional too and told me I don't understand because I'm not a parent. Then my dad got mad at me for reacting that way when they just want to be happy about the possibility of having a grandchild. But to me, it's been pointed out to them that sister-in-law isn't happy about this, so I push it and make her uncomfortable. My parents are still mad at me. Dad does think I was an a-hole for calling them insensitive and making it seem like they were doing something wrong. Sister-in-law is still a mess and anxious about her appointment. She doesn't believe she's pregnant, but says she doesn't know what she'll do if it somehow turns out she is. Anyways, I'd like to know if what I said made me an a-hole. It really pissed me off is all. Not an a-hole at all. Thank you for standing up for your sister-in-law. Your mother is understandably grieving the loss of her child right now, and has latched onto the idea that his widow could be carrying his child. Honestly, I hope for everyone's sake she isn't, because this isn't healthy. I guarantee that your mother is already thinking of this child as the reincarnation of your brother, and it will be insufferable. Your mother needs therapy. Your father is also an a-hole for completely ignoring that your sister-in-law lost her husband in his own grief for his son. Can your sister-in-law stay with you? It'd probably be better for her. I hope so too. She already told me she doesn't know if she could actually make it through a pregnancy. And I get that. But it would cause an even bigger drama with my parents, so here's hoping she isn't. We're talking about that. I told her if she's not comfortable there, she can come here. She just feels guilty about leaving since they took her in. For your information, if she's feeling sick but got 2 negative tests, she's 99% not pregnant. Typically, you don't start feeling nauseated until you're about 6 weeks pregnant or later, and that's more than enough time to get a positive test. Pregnancy symptoms typically don't appear till, well, after you've missed your period or got any positive tests, so I'm pretty sure she's in the clear. Not a a-hole. I've actually been in this situation. My husband died 6 years ago. When he died, his mother kept asking if I could be pregnant and saying how she would love to have something of my husband still left behind. She put pressure on me, and when we found out that I wasn't pregnant, it made me feel like a terrible person who couldn't give his mom what she wanted. It was a mess, and I didn't need that guilt and pain when I was already devastated over losing my husband. You sound honestly amazing for standing up for your sister-in-law. That was kind of you, and the right thing to do. Your parents need to back off and let her grieve. They are taking their emotions out on her, and it's not beneficial for anyone. Keep having her back. You're a good guy. Not a a-hole. Your parents are treating your sister-in-law like a human incubator for your brother's memories. They need to step back and realize they are being outrageous, and their behavior is absolutely unacceptable. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law a bad mother and kicking her off a family Zoom call? My 41 female husband 42 male and I have been married for 15 years. I have an okay relationship with my mother-in-law, but prefer to limit contact with her because she's very nosy and likes to gossip. When I first met my husband, he told me that he was an only child. However, when we started to get serious and were discussing marriage, he told me that he was in fact not an only child, that he has a sister. However, he wants nothing to do with her. He told me he tells people that he is an only child because 1. People will be nosy and ask why he does not speak to her, or 2. Try to get him to fix the relationship with her. I told him that it was his choice, and that family's who you choose, not what you were born into. He went on to explain that his sister has a history with addiction. She is a habitual liar, and would lie on purpose so that he would get into trouble and not her, and that she would steal from him. He said that when he moved out at 18, the last conversation that he had with his sister was him telling her that he wanted nothing to do with her, and that he is an only child. My mother-in-law has been trying to force a relationship between them ever since, much to the detriment of her own relationship with her son. Saturday was my husband's birthday, so I organized a family Zoom call 2 weeks ago so that everyone could sing happy birthday and open presents with him. The week prior, my mother-in-law sent me a message over Facebook that she wanted to surprise my husband with his sister. She said she felt like it was time for the two of them to bury the hatchet. I told her that this is not a good idea, that my husband wants nothing to do with her, and that I would not open lines of communication between the two of them without discussing it with him first. She asked me if I could give sister-in-law my contact information, and I told her no. Well, she did anyway, and my sister-in-law started texting and calling me on my phone. Since she is not a Facebook friend, she cannot contact me online. I told my husband about it, and he was beyond pissed off. He told mother-in-law to stop trying to force him to have a relationship with his sister, and if she cannot respect this, he will stop speaking to her as well. We thought all was fine, until Saturday. Right as we were getting ready to sing happy birthday, mother-in-law tells my husband she has a surprise, and sister-in-law sits down next to her and starts crying and sobbing about how she misses her brother. My husband was so angry that he walked away. I told my mother-in-law she was a horrible mother, and have since blocked her on Facebook and on my phone. Now, I'm getting Facebook messages and phone calls from other relatives, including my own family, about how rude I was and how I should apologize to mother-in-law for how I behaved. My own mother says that mother-in-law was only trying to help, and that I need to unblock her and beg forgiveness. Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law a horrible mother? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She did something she knew would upset him, and on his birthday. Your husband is an adult and has made his wishes clear, and I'm sure he's happy that you have his back. I agree, not the a-hole. I think a lot of people struggle imagining situations in which they'd cut family off because of their own good relationships, but it does not mean supposed well-intentioned meddling is done for the husband's benefit. Your family should not be interfering or apply pressure on a situation they're hearing about third hand. Good luck. Exactly. My first loyalty is to my husband. He has explained why he feels this way, and his so-called mother has done nothing but refuse to respect his boundaries. If you think such blatant disrespect is acceptable behavior, then I have misjudged you, and I think it's best we do not communicate further while I reevaluate our relationship. Not a-hole. Your husband made it clear that he does not want a relationship with his sister, and that needs to be respected. Your mother-in-law is horrible because her son has repeatedly told her he doesn't want a relationship with his sister. And instead of supporting his decision, she keeps finding ways to force one. You have nothing to apologize for. Keep her blocked and everything, and anyone who insists on demanding you apologize can join her on a blocked list. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my sister-in-law to go to dinner with us? My first time posting here, so please bear with me. A little bit of background. My husband, male 30, and I, female 30, have been living with my in-laws for 2 years now. I share an okay rapport with them as their expectations are a little too much for me to handle, but that's a different story. My sister-in-law, female 23, is kind of spoiled, where she pretty much gets what she wants every time and will change the story, manipulate things and lie in order to make herself look good in front of other people. She has been having issues with her boyfriend for some time, and every time she comes to me for advice and wants to hang out with me when her boyfriend stops hanging out with her. But as soon as they are on good terms or she makes new friends, she stops hanging out with me. She has never asked me to hang out with her when she doesn't need me. On the other hand, my husband and I will try to include her in our outings, dinners, if I'm going to my cousin's house, shopping, etc. So the issue arose when she found out that my husband and I went for dinner with my brother in the city and we did not ask her to go. I had not had dinner with my brother since I got married, and I barely see him as he lives away in a different city than us. This was a random plan that my husband and I ended up making, and as we were getting ready to go out, I suggested we message my brother and see if he wants to hang out with us for dinner. He was free, and so he said yes. We drove to a city 45 minutes, had dinner, and came back home around 11:30 p.m. By this time, everyone was asleep. The next day, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were having breakfast but would not talk to me properly. I tried to say hi and ask how they were doing, but they ignored me. When I kept asking what happened, then my sister-in-law started crying and in a passive-aggressive tone said, "I thought you cared about me." And I said, "I do care about you, but I am not sure what I did wrong to make you cry." At this point, she started saying that I knew she was having a hard time in her relationship and needed support from me, and that she was lonely all day yesterday, and if I was going to be hanging out with my brother for dinner, then I should have taken her too. She said she thought I was going on a date with my husband and therefore did not tag along, but if she knew I was going to have dinner with my brother and husband, then she should have been included too. I have to be honest, I was feeling livid at this point. Her sense of entitlement was making me fume, and I couldn't hold it in any longer and told her that I get to decide who I have dinner with, and that just because she's having a hard time in her relationship doesn't mean I owe it to her to take her out and make her feel better every single time. My mother-in-law was not happy that I raised my voice and thought my sister-in-law yelled at both me and my husband. My mother-in-law is holding us accountable for making her daughter cry. She is expecting us to apologize to sister-in-law. Am I the a-hole for not taking my sister-in-law for dinner and losing my cool when she yelled? Not the a-hole, but you need to move out, or everyone sucks here. There is obvious tension in the family that isn't necessarily your fault. Your sister-in-law is definitely toxic, but if y'all don't leave the situation, you're just as bad as all of them because you're engaging in and supporting her and your in-laws' behavior. My family has been convincing me to move out, but my husband's mom is not in the best of health, and I am expected to do the chores in the house and take care of the family. That's why we live with the in-laws. Oh, so you belong to them. You have your own life and can make your own choices. You're choosing to stay. Your husband should be making you the priority, not his parents. Thank you. Sometimes one needs another person to be firm and say it as is. I totally get I'm choosing to stay. It's just that I can't leave without my husband, and he's been under their control his whole life, to the point where he didn't even have his own bank account, and his money used to go to them, and he would get pocket money to spend if needed. We need to discuss our future and see what we can do. I'm going to be blunt. You might have to leave him. I hope he stands up and sees the abuse that his parents have put him through his whole life and now onto you, but he might just be in too deep. If that's the case, you have to do what's best for you. You can't keep others warm by setting yourself on fire. Wow, never thought about it in that way. Thanks for putting things in perspective. He has realized the abuse his parents have put him through, and he thanks me for helping me see it. We will be getting my parents' help for our next steps.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my younger sister money to maintain her lavish lifestyle after many years of hard work causing a fallout with my family? Okay, I'll try to keep this as short as I can, but I need to vent a little because I feel like my entire family is mad at me, and I don't know if I'm in the wrong here. I, 34 female, have worked my butt off for over a decade to get where I am today. I came from a pretty average family. Growing up, we weren't poor, but we weren't well off either. I had to bust my butt through school, take extra shifts, save every penny while others were out partying and buying things I couldn't even dream of affording. Now, after years of grinding, I finally own my own home, have a decent savings, and I'm in a good place financially. It wasn't easy, and I'm proud of myself for getting here. Then there's my younger sister, Sarah, 29 female. Sarah's always been different. I love her, but she's never been great with money or responsibilities in general. She's had a history of overspending and not really caring about the consequences. While I was working multiple jobs and going back to school, she was out buying designer bags, going on trips, eating out at fancy restaurants, all the things I had to forgo. Here's the kicker though. Our parents have always cuddled her. Even now at 29, they're still helping her out financially. They've paid off her rent a few times, they cover some of her bills, and they even bailed her out when she maxed out her credit cards more than once. She's basically been able to live this luxurious life without putting in the work. Well, recently Sarah hit a rough patch. Surprise, surprise. She called me in a panic because she couldn't keep up with her expenses and asked if I could lend her some money. At first I felt bad and thought, okay, maybe I can help her out this one time. But then I realized she wasn't asking for money to pay rent or cover an emergency. She wanted me to help her maintain her lifestyle. She straight up said she didn't want to sell her designer stuff or downgrade her apartment because she deserves nice things. I told her no. I said that while I love her, I'm not going to throw money at her so she can keep living this way. I suggested she start making smarter financial decisions, like cutting back on luxuries, maybe selling some of her more expensive things, and living within her means. Well, she didn't take it well. She got super mad and accused me of being selfish and forgetting where I came from. She went on about how I'm in a good place now, so I should help her because that's what family does. Now she's gone crying to our parents, and of course they've taken her side. They called me saying I'm being stingy and that money is just money, and that family is more important. They've helped her as much as they can, and now they think it's my turn to step up. I tried to explain that it's not about me hoarding my money, but about the fact that she's living irresponsibly, and I don't want to enable that behavior. They didn't care, and now the whole family's upset with me. I've even gotten calls from aunts and uncles telling me I'm wrong for not helping her out. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I worked so hard for what I have, and it doesn't feel fair that I'm expected to bail her out so she can keep living this ridiculous lifestyle. I love her, but I just don't think it's right to reward bad behavior, even if she is my sister. So, am I the a-hole for not giving her the money and causing this massive fallout with my family? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If your parents truly believe that money is just money, then they should be happy to sell some of their investments or other assets, or even delay vacation or retirement plans, to continue to fund a lifestyle that they've raised Sarah to expect. And anyone that calls you, all the uncles and aunts, tell them since they are butting into this business, then they should also help out. So your sister can keep spending money on designer jewelry. Watch the conversation change real quick. Thank you so much for offering to help support Sarah's lifestyle. How much can I put you down for contributing? I know she's been eyeing a new handbag and some nice jewelry, so I know she's going to need a lot. Is $10,000 starting out good, or should I put you down for more, do you think? If Sarah wants to be a trad wife or a stay-at-home girlfriend, she needs to start with a rich partner. Seems she skipped that step. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You've worked hard for what you have and deserve to keep it. It's like the parable of grasshopper and the ant. If your parents want to bail her out, they can get a second mortgage. That way, your sister won't need to sell any of her nice stuff or move to a cheaper place. Because let's be honest here, if you end up needing help from your parents, there's nothing left for you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after what she did to my fiancé? So my 28 female sister Ella, 31 female, is getting married in 2 weeks. We've always been close, even though we have our differences. I've always been more of a laid-back, introverted person, while Ella's the life of the party and loves being the center of attention. It never bothered me much, until now. I've been engaged to my fiancé Mark, 29 male, for about a year. He's wonderful, kind, supportive, and just an all-around great guy. My family has always liked him, or so I thought. But about a month ago, something happened that made me question everything. Ella asked Mark to meet her for coffee one day, saying she needed to help picking out a wedding gift for me. I didn't think much of it at the time, but when Mark came home, he was really quiet. After some coaxing, he finally told me what happened. Apparently, Ella spent the entire time trying to convince him that I wasn't right for him. She told him I was too boring, that I wasn't ambitious enough, that he could do better. She even went so far as to suggest that he should call off the engagement and see other people. Mark was completely blindsided and upset. He said he defended me, but it was clear that Ella was relentless. I was furious when I found out. I confronted Ella and she didn't even deny it. She said she was just looking out for Mark and that she wants the best for him. When I asked her why she thought it was her place to interfere in our relationship, she just shrugged and said she was being honest. I told her that what she did was completely out of line and hurtful, not just to me, but to Mark as well. She didn't apologize. Instead, she doubled down, saying that if I was confident in my relationship, I wouldn't be so upset. I ended up leaving her house in tears. Since then, I've barely spoken to her. My parents found out about the situation, and while they agree that what Ella did was wrong, they're begging me to still attend the wedding. They think that missing it would cause a huge rift in the family, and that I should just let it go for the sake of peace. But I don't know if I can. Every time I think about what she did, it makes my blood boil. I feel betrayed and hurt. I don't know if I can just pretend everything is fine for her big day. Mark supports whatever decision I make, but I can tell he's hurt by this too. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my sister's wedding after what she did to my fiancé? Not the a-hole. Tell your parents you're staying home for the sake of peace. Your peace. Or tell them that if you go, you will object to the wedding, as it's clear that Ella has feelings for Mark and the wedding is a sham. Not the a-hole. She might be getting married to someone else, but she clearly has feelings for Mark. Right. OP's sister is marrying a man she doesn't love. OP should look out for this guy and let him know what his fiancé tried to do and why. OP's sister would understand, right? I would definitely have coffee with him and let him know he can do better. Not the a-hole. Narcissists, cheaters, basically generally crappy people, all bank on the fact that your reaction to their toxic behavior will be viewed as an overreaction, and they try to pin a blame on you. This is especially true in family dynamics, with this ridiculous belief that somehow being related by blood gives someone a free pass to crap all over you. If she ever is truly repent, then maybe there would be room for grace and forgiveness. But until then, I would consider her dead to you. Parents think OP not attending wedding could cause a rift in the family. No, Ella caused the rift by meeting Mark and trying to ruin OP's relationship. The blame is on Ella, not OP. You were right. OP will get the blame for her reaction. No one will be concentrating on Ella's behavior that started this whole issue. They always try to blame the reaction to awful behavior instead of the behavior itself. It's so messed up. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to move my wedding date after my brother said he can't make it? So I, 28 female, am getting married in 2 months. My fiancé, 29 male, and I have been planning this wedding for over a year. We picked the venue, sent out save the dates last year, and everyone has known about the date for ages. Like we're all in, the venue is booked, caterers, flowers, photographer. Basically everything is set, and deposits have been paid. At this point, we're just counting down the days, excited to get married and celebrate with everyone. Enter my younger brother, 25 male. He just got into this super competitive internship program that he's been wanting for a while, and he is over the moon about it. I'm genuinely happy for him because I know this is a big deal for his career. The problem is, he found out the start date is the same week as my wedding, and he told me he can't come anymore. Obviously, I was disappointed, but I assumed he'd be a little bummed too and we'd move on. Instead, he asked me if I'd consider changing the wedding date. At first, I thought he was joking, but nope, dead serious. He's all, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I really don't want to miss your wedding, but I can't be in 2 places at once. I told him there's literally no way I'm changing the date. We're 2 months out. Everything is booked, invites have been sent, guests have RSVP'd, and people have already planned time off and booked hotels. Not to mention, moving a wedding isn't as simple as just picking another day, especially at this point. There's a whole cascade of other stuff I'd have to move, and that's if the venue even has another open date anytime soon. He got annoyed and basically said, "So you care more about a party than your brother's future?" Which really pissed me off. Like, come on. It's not like I didn't give everyone, including him, a huge heads up about this date. He's known for over a year. I get that the internship is important, but it's not like he couldn't have communicated with them and tried to work something out, right? Now, my mom is all over me about it. saying that I'll regret not having him there, and that I'm being selfish by not even considering changing the date. She's implying that family is more important than one day, but I feel like this is one day that's actually about me and my fiancé, and I don't think it's fair to be expected to turn my life upside down to accommodate his work. My dad is staying out of it, classic, but I can tell he thinks I'm being a bit unreasonable too. Fiancé is backing me up, but I can tell he feels weird about the whole thing. He's a big family guy and doesn't want any drama, but he also knows how much we've already put into this wedding. I don't want to sound like I don't care about my brother because I do. I love him, and I hate that he won't be there. But at the same time, I don't think it's reasonable to ask someone to change their wedding date this close. It's not like we're talking about a birthday party or something. This is an entire wedding. So yeah, am I the a-hole for refusing to change the date and basically telling him if he can't come, that's on him? Or should I be more flexible here? Now for the top comments. Your brother and your family's opinions are absurd. Not a-hole. Why is this kid so delusional? Did he often expect things to be moved around for him? Did he often get extensions on things? Is he the golden child? Mom is backing him and dad is staying out of it. If they think OP's wedding doesn't get priority in their own damn life, it shows who's probably been getting preferential treatment. Yep, son versus daughter. Mom backing the son because family? Reeks of a golden child scapegoat dynamic. Dad not wanting to rock the boat is just an enabler. You can't move mountains for him. You can't screw over everyone else who saved the date. There's no argument here. The date is the date. Now, I get that he doesn't want to make waves, but my sister's wedding seems like an easy ask. Is it on a weekday? Why can't he do both? A lot of times travel/hotels/time off can't be rescheduled. Everyone else planned accordingly. They shouldn't all be screwed over for one person. Not a-hole. He's 25 but acting like he's 13. The fact that your mother, who should know better, is on you about it combined with his attitude tells me he's the golden child. Tell mom if she really cared about family, she would liquidate her savings to rebook the venue, the vendors, and the travel and accommodations of all the guests to make sure your brother can come, along with apology letters to all those who took vacation days for nothing. Last story. Would I be the a-hole if I tell my friend her bridesmaids won't be throwing her an extensive bachelorette party if we aren't invited to the wedding? So I, 27 female, am friends with Jane, 28 female. Jane and her fiancé Brad, 29 male, recently got engaged. Jane is one of my best friends and we have known each other since college. When talking about our future weddings, Jane has always expressed that she wants me and a handful of our closest friends to be her bridesmaids and to have a destination wedding. When I saw Jane and Brad the day they got engaged, one of the first things Jane said to me was how excited she was for me and our other friend to be her bridesmaids. This was about a month ago. However, now that Jane and Brad have started looking at wedding planning, they have decided to have a tiny destination wedding in Colorado and only immediate family will be invited, to save money. They also plan on having a casual party for all of the rest of their family and friends after. But there will be no ceremony or sit-down dinner and will be very clearly not a second wedding. Even though I was disappointed and hurt to hear that I would not be invited to the actual wedding, I understand that it is their right to have whatever kind of wedding they want. And if it is not important to her that her best friends be there, that's her choice. But what irked me is that Jane still expects a bridal shower, a long weekend trip to an expensive destination for a bachelorette party, and mentioned a registry for wedding gifts. I find it a bit ridiculous that she still expects to have these things thrown by, and presumably paid for, by people that aren't even invited to the actual wedding. She still insists on calling us her bridesmaids, but since we will not be present at the wedding and will have no special designation at the party, I don't see how we actually are. Our friends are a bit split on what to do about this. Some want to confront her about this, some think that would be an a-hole move. So would I be the a-hole for telling Jane that if she's not having a traditional wedding, she can't expect traditional wedding benefits? Edited to add, I think a few people are misunderstanding my point here. I'm not saying I don't want to celebrate her at all, or that she shouldn't get anything outside of her wedding. What's bothering me is her stated expectation of a big shower and bachelorette trip. She explicitly said she wants to go to Scottsdale. We are in Tennessee, so this requires a flight. Without an invitation to the wedding, she could throw any kind of backyard, courthouse, big, small, whatever wedding, and I would be happy to do all of the above, as long as I was actually invited. Not a-hole. You aren't bridesmaids. You are friends of the bride. That being said, however, if she specifically mentions the reason for the small ceremonies to save money, then it seems to me that she does want the big wedding you all talked about, but they can't afford it. She is probably really disappointed she can't have the wedding of her dreams, and now she's even more disappointed she won't have her dream bachelorette party either. Why can't you throw her a bridal party just because you love her and want her to have a bridal party? Totally understand your point. They did say the reason is to save money. However, she and her fiancé both have great jobs. He drives an expensive car. They have a designer dog. They recently bought a home for about $400K. And she is constantly buying expensive clothes. Also, Brad's family is rich, and she told me his parents offered to pay for at least part of the wedding. So they are choosing this style of wedding because that's what they want to do, not that they can't afford to have a slightly larger wedding. There is also a lot of background, but the short version is that a few years ago, Brad had a medical emergency when Jane and I lived together, and I and her other friends went above and beyond for them during this time, which I was more than happy to do because I love them both. But I think that is contributing to this feeling a bit more like a slap in the face than if it was any other friend/couple. I do still want to celebrate her and their upcoming marriage. My feelings are stemming from the expectation of an extensive bachelorette trip without an inclusion in the actual wedding. Not a-hole. Bridesmaids who aren't invited to the wedding aren't bridesmaids. Not even guests. Apparently, they're just ADMs. And party planners. They should plan a destination weekend party for the bride, then not invite her. It's the bride's favorite type of event after all.